Welcome back to One-on-One with Mr. U. Of course, I am your host, Mr. U. In studio with us, the Dyslexia Professor, Russell Van Brocklen, is in the house. Russell, good morning, sir. How are you, man?
Great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Good to have you in here, man. We had a great conversation in our pre-interview regarding the whole idea of what dyslexia actually is and kind of killing some of the myths. So I'm definitely want to enlighten our audience about all of the details of that. Before we get started doing that, it's a custom. When our guests come through, I always ask about their upbringing, their childhood. Tell me how you got from where you used to be to where you are right now. Go for it, Russell.
Well, I was pulled out of normal classes in third grade.
Okay.
I was dyslexic all the way through, it was horrible all the way through elementary, middle, and high school. And then in college, when my documentation ran out, because it's only good for so many years, I was evaluated by a SUNY distinguished professor in psychology, Dr. Lichka, and I found out I had a first grade reading and writing ability. And I had that right through until I started auditing law classes. And in law school, it took me about a month to learn to read and a couple of years to learn to write.
Wow.
But I did that because literally, if you're auditing law classes, you have no choice. You absolutely have to read because the academic pressure on there is extraordinary. And I took it like to a fish to water. My second day in contracts, Professor Warner, who was also dyslexic, called on me. And if you don't know the answer with the Socratic method, they keep asking you questions even after you don't know. It's really to embarrass you. So that didn't happen to me. Everything lined up for the first time in my life. Things were organized. I started arguing back with him. He started getting kind of cheeky with me. So then I started basically shouting at him. He shouted back. And that went on for 15 minutes. Yeah, but the key thing is it went on for 15 minutes. I could see where he was going multiple steps away, so he could do the same with me. He said at the end, Russell, you couldn't be any more correct. For the interest of time, I have to move on to my next case. My classmates who graduated, became lawyers, said they still can't do that to this day, not with a professor. And he said he was just trying to tweak me. He was trying to push me, and he was trying to end it. He was just trying to defeat me, and he couldn't. So then the rest just lined up, and that was then what I did is I wanted to share what I learned with other dyslexics. I got the New York State Senate after years of study and investigation to support my first program, where in a public school we took highly motivated intelligence juniors and seniors. They had middle school writing skills, one class period a day for the school year. At the end, they're scoring average of entering graduate students. All went on to college, all graduated, no accommodations, GPAs of 2.5 to 3.6, cost New York State less than $900 a kid.
That's incredible. We're going to get some more details about this and some stats and some other things that we want to kind of break down. But you had a link that you shared with us for a free guide that I think we're going to reference at some point during the episode, where it kind of gives parents some ideas of why the educational system for dyslexics hasn't been working that well, and what they can do about it. So I'll put the link in the comment section so people can grab it. It's a pretty long link, so it is there for you, and I'm sure that Russell will address that at some point during the episode. But I want to ask you, Russell, exactly what is dyslexia?
Okay, well,
kind of a little close to home for me personally, so I'm very interested in the answer. But go ahead, what is that?
Okay, this is the book on dyslexia. If anybody wants to know anything, it's Overcoming Dyslexia by Sally Shaywitz from Yale. She's a medical doctor. These are brain scans. This is Dyslexia, page 78, Overcoming Dyslexia, second edition, page 78, figure 23. Now, do you see how the back part of the typical brain has all this massive neuroactivity?
Yes.
Now, you see how the back part of my brain has next to nothing?
I see that, yes.
Now, do you see how the front part of the dyslexic brain is about 2.5 times overactive?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that's dyslexia. How do we translate that into something that your audience cares about? All right. I like to start off with some questions. So I'm just going to run this by you to see if you're dyslexic, ADD, or ADHD.
You want to test me?
I'm going to test you right here, right now. What do you say?
don't think so, man.
Oh, you don't want me to? There are a few simple questions.
Okay, go ahead. Okay.
Okay, first one. We need to find out what your speciality is. So, what are you really good at? What do you love doing? Where you can do it anytime, what is it? What do you really get at? What do you love doing?
Let's just say podcasting.
Podcasting. Okay. When you're thinking about podcasting, do you have ideas flying around your head at light speed, but with little to no organization?
I'm pretty
Is that you?
organized. No, I'm pretty
No, I mean,
organized.
okay, but do you have ideas flying around your head at light speed, but with little to no organization? Is that you or not you?
No, I don't think that's me.
Okay. Well, then guess what? You're not ADD. You're not dyslexic. You're not ADHD.
Okay.
Okay. So what a dyslexic or a kid with ADD or ADHD would say is, yes, that's me.
Oh, okay.
That's the primary issue about dyslexia. What do I mean by that?
Disorganization of thoughts, a disorganization of thoughts. Is that you would describe it?
Right. What
Okay.
you're finding is I'm really oversimplifying complicated neuroscience, but to make it
Yeah.
applicable, with that overactivity in the front, essentially what's happening is we're thinking incredibly rapidly with little to no organizations.
Okay.
Okay. So that's what we have to address. That's the heart of what dyslexia actually is. So remember what I said about my original program. These
Yeah.
kids jump 7, 8 grade levels in 1 year, 1 class period a day. This wasn't done by accident. What I did is the front part of the dyslexic brain, according to Yale, it's articulation followed by word analysis. So all I did is I looked at articulation, I looked at the writing test, the graduate records exam, analytical writing section. It's analytical. Analytical articulation to me, same thing. That was the big breakthrough. All
Okay.
right. So what do we do with dyslexia? For typical students, because my original program doesn't work for them, it's too evolved, it's too hard. What I found is number one, before anything else, for an intervention period, we have to focus on their speciality. It's
Okay.
their area of extreme interest and ability. So what do we do with that? How do we find out? It's a Saturday morning. You can do whatever you want, go anywhere you want. What would it be? That's their speciality. Okay.
Okay.
We get an audio book and a printed book that's a couple of years ahead of where we wanted to be, and we use that for the intervention period. Secondly, you can't ask a dyslexic what effect. You can't ask them a general to a specific question. So we can't ask what. You can't ask a dyslexic what effect did Martin Luther King's famous "I Have a Dream" speech have on the American Civil Rights Movement in the 1960s? You ask a dyslexic that, it's like grabbing fog. We can't do
Oh,
it.
okay. And
All
why is
right.
that?
Well, because what we have to do is the dyslexic brain is operating so rapidly with little to no organization. We
Okay.
have to force it to organize itself by using writing as a measurable output.
Okay.
Okay, so what we do is we ask it a specific to a general question, because senior dyslexic professors told me this is how they learn much better than anything else. And if the best among us, this is the most effective way, it works for the rest of us. So what we do is we ask a question such as, what personally compelled Martin Luther King to want to give his famous speech? Well, you look it up in his biography. You answer it, and then that answer will provide another question. You answer that. You keep going, and as that forces the dyslexic to think in a linear manner.
Okay.
Third is to work with gen ed, the typical dyslexic students I found, the front part of the brain, instead of articulation followed by word analysis, we had to do I had to flip it, word analysis followed by articulation.
Hmm.
All right. So we start off analyze, and I can give you a demonstration of that in a second. But the key thing to understand is how effective is this? I'll give you an example. Last December, December 2024, I met Kimberly on the 27th. Her son's name is Reed. I have full permission to tell the story.
Okay.
He's a homeschooling mom. Reed was 10 years old, uh, end of second, beginning third grade level reading skills and writing skills. She paid $700 to have him tested in Ohio, and his score on this test was a 190. At the end of the school year, the average for grade level was 211. They expected him to increase just a couple of points if he was in a special ed program. Instead of increasing just by a couple of points, he increased by 20 points to a 210, 1 point below average in 6 months. Kimberly only worked with him half an hour a day, 3 days a week on average. I worked with her a half an hour a week. That's it. Then Reed's friends came to him and said, we want you in public school with us for social reasons. Well, if he went in December, he would have been special ed. He would have been frustrated, not with his friends. But because Kimberly did the intervention, she solved it. Now he's in 6th grade in public school doing just fine.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's how powerful it is if you teach dyslexics based on this model. Now, you don't have to do speciality forever, but just until they're at or above grade level and the intervention period's over with.
All right, I got several questions, and I know that we don't have a limited amount of time, so I'm going to try to get these things in. Now, now you're helping me as well as our listeners. I'm pretty sure that they have the same misconceptions I had about dyslexia.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it does hit close to home, so I'm very interested in the ins and outs of it. It seems like there is some situations where a child who has dyslexia struggles to read, but you're saying that they need to be able to write because it helps them better to write. How does a person who has dyslexia actually learn? If they're struggling with reading, but they should be writing, but they.
Yeah, it sounds confusing, but I tend to go with the end result. You have to assume you take in information through reading or listening, process it into a value-added form, and then you're judged on your ability to write. But I'm going to give you a little secret. You ready? If a kid can write it, they can read it.
Fair. That makes sense.
Okay. So I focus on the writing. I focus on showing them how to develop a vocabulary. The next step is we do hundreds of evolved words. Where they know universal themes. They literally know the dictionary definition of words. Okay. Like literally the exact, I have them type out a word, go to the Merriam-Webster's online dictionary, find their definition, type it out. They do that a certain number of times, they know the word. They do this between 10 and 11, 10 and 12, when they're studying for the SAT or ACT, when they're 17, 16. They don't have to remember hundreds of words of evolved words. They've done that years before. They still remember the definitions.
Makes sense.
It's that powerful.
Okay, I agree with this. So tell me, what do you think is I have many more questions. I'm going to try to squeeze them in as quick as I can. But what do you think is the general view of dyslexia currently?
They're still under the misimpression because they're going back to a guy called Dr. Orton, who passed away in 1948. They still think the best way to overcome this is multisensory, see it, touch it, hear it. They're basically on ideas that are,
antiquated,
pretty much set right past World War II. We haven't changed much in the industry since then.
That doesn't sound great. Help me with this, because in my time growing up, when I first began to hear about this, it always felt like people were considering dyslexic kids to be dumb. Tell me, well, this is not for the people who are uninitiated or who just refusing to understand, but help break it down why they're not dumb and how they are intelligent, how they function to understand.
Okay, let me just go back, because I'm asked this all the time. Let's go back to the science.
All right.
The back part of the gen ed brain.
People can't see that, but go ahead.
Okay, I'm pointing to the book again. The back part of the gen ed brain has massive neural activity. The dyslexic has next to nothing. Essentially, again, oversimplifying this, that's K through college. The system is set up for the 80+% of students who are not dyslexic. It focuses on the area of the brain where they have massive neural activities. The dyslexic doesn't come into their own until graduate school, because we're academic specialists, not generalists. Once we enter a doctoral program or law school, we own the place day one or soon thereafter. When I did my initial report for Professor James Collins, I had to get it approved to enter a university-wide competition. I was told it was going to take 4 or 5 years. I did it in less than 2 weeks.
Wow.
But I will struggle like crazy in a 101 class in college and do exceedingly well in a 499 class, even if it's the same thing.
Wow. The boost of confidence they must have is likely, it's amazing. What can
Well,
you
the
share?
main thing is you have to focus. Take take the most advanced class you can, where it's very specific and you're going in a lot of detail in something you care about. Avoid the general classes that are all over the place that you don't care. That's the key thing to surviving as a dyslexic.
Okay. Because tell me why on that last point about it's something they had to care about. Explain that to
Well,
me.
because dyslexics, as a general rule, were massively academic specialists. We're very good in a very narrow area, but our educational system wants to make us well
Around.
rounded before we specialize. To give you an example, Shark Tank. How many of the six sharks do you think are dyslexic?
I don't watch the show, so my guess is going to be pretty bad, probably.
No, half of them.
Okay.
Damien, Mr. Wonderful, and Barbara are dyslexic. Half of them.
Wow.
They're way overrepresented. Dyslexics are way overrepresented in really advanced hard things because, again, once we can just struggle through college and get into grad school, we own the place because we are focused on, we are very much academic specialists, not generalists. We just have to literally survive K through college. It is really hard. Once we hit grad school, we, as I said, we own the place.
I see that. What do you think? Well, I'm sure we're up against it a little bit, but what do you think is the cause for dyslexia? If you can
It's genetic.
research, is genetics?
Absolutely. It's inherited, just like people who have blonde hair and people who have green eyes, it's inherited.
Okay. What can you share? I think we discussed this a little bit in our pre-interview, Russell, but what can you share that experts maybe do not share or will not share about this issue?
Well, what you want to do is get your kid diagnosed in kindergarten with dyslexia as young as possible. You don't know how to do it, just Google Yale dyslexia, contact the Yale Center for Dyslexia and Creative Studies, and they'll tell you how teachers can do this cheaply in class. And then what you want to do is to work as early as possible to get them to pass your state's third grade reading and writing test. Because K through 3, we learn to read. Fourth and above, you read to learn, and it's better to get it solved K through 3. If it's not the traditional approach, you went at fourth grade and above, you're at a private dyslexic school at 75K a year for 4 to 5 years. Or with my process, because I use how the dyslexic brain actually works, the older the kid is, the quicker they learn. So best thing to do is get it diagnosed and solved early. If not, it's more challenging later on.
That makes a lot of sense. I asked you in our pre-interview to kind of have a myth ready about what people think dyslexia is and what it's not. Is there a myth or a big misconception that you want to kind of bust today?
Sure, people think dyslexia is a reading problem.
Hmm.
It couldn't be further from the truth. The real problem with dyslexia is lack of organization, and we just can't think clear. When we fix that, the rest of it corrects very quickly. For what I use for that, there's a book on post-war Japanese history article written for Harvard students by Professor Dower from MIT. Won the Pulitzer, won the National Book Award. I was studying this in Japan. I thought it was the easiest thing I read in my life, and nobody else in the class could even get past the first paragraph. I show dyslexics how to do that. I give that to teachers who are reading specialists, and half of them can't get past the first paragraph. It turns them dyslexic because he packs
Oh
so
gosh.
much information in such a little space. They go off the rails.
Oh wow. Now you mentioned something a little earlier in the show about specificity and focusing on what people that are dyslexic, what they enjoy, what they're passionate
Their
about.
speciality, yes.
Yeah. What are you passionate about? What do you enjoy?
My one was always history. I pushed my
History.
way out of special ed in seventh grade and in eighth grade for eighth grade, and I won the history award for being the best student in my grade. I did extraordinarily well with it. I tend to use it for when I teach dyslexics. I remember one of my clients said, "I hate history." I said, "Okay, what are you passionate about?" "Grapefruit growing." It's like, okay, grapefruit growing. You come up with the darndest things. So I went to the AI. I had to create a customized thing for him based on grapefruit growing. All right.
Okay.
And I said, I'm giving you the history of grapefruit growing because if it happened 5 minutes ago, it's history. He loved it. Okay. And then I used the AI and I said, okay, well, that's too easy. I'm going to bump it up 2 grade levels. And I kept doing it until we found an equilibrium about 3.5 grade levels up from where he was.
I love this. I love this. You had some stats about the New York State educational system. Because I'm from New York, I took some of it personally. But if you don't mind sharing the stats, I think it's astounding, disturbing, a whole bunch of adjectives I can use. But do you remember those stats that you shared with me?
Yeah, because I go through them all the time. I'm gonna just give you an example of my home school district, Averill Park, which is right outside of Albany. We had a board meeting, and the key thing is third through eighth grade English language arts test. They had a general passage rate of like 42 to 59%. Okay. And as one board member said, that's like 6 out of 10 kids aren't passing in third grade. It's a concern. Well, dyslexics are way worse. They're hovering around 8 to 12%, depending on which year and how you look at it. And I'm extracting that from special education, which is the closest thing I can get to it.
Hmm.
So what they tried to do is they had an entire year of a task force, the best 100 people in the state. And they said, this is how we pass this. Okay. It's on just Google New York State Education Department Dyslexia Task Force. It tells you how to do it with the best current technology. Then they tried to pass it. Two reasons it failed: money, because it's extraordinarily expensive. And number two, the teachers pushed back saying, you dumped all this other stuff on us. We can't take this right now.
Oh,
So the
wow.
process, I met with Evelyn Whitebay. She's was one of the few teachers on the dyslexia task force, and we can go in and train a school district from kindergarten through 12th grade on how to solve the main reading and writing issues, and it'll take less than 6 hours.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because we're using a process that's designed for the dyslexic brain, how it actually works. So, I mean, as I said, I'm that's why I'm doing all these podcasts to get the message out. Because I said, literally, Kimberly, a homeschooling mom, with me working with her a half an hour a week, her son solved this, and she solved this for her son in less than 6 months.
Why isn't anybody
Teachers don't
listening to you?
require that much. What's that?
Why isn't anybody listening to you? This is amazing. This is
Well, why?
why.
Oh, why?
Before you-
Because the and to be very clear, the first thing that I did, I was funded by the New York State Senate. I had to go through the Education Department, the SUNY Research Foundation, Averill Park School District, the senior professors out in Buffalo. I had to do all that for years. And then we presented in New York City in 2006. Literally took our best and brightest and jumped them from middle school to average of entering graduate school. They had the writing ability of college graduates before they even started. And we did that for less than $900. Now, you want to know what the statistics are on that? Compared to Landmark College at the time, the best dyslexic college, we were 3x as successful for less than 1% of the cost, for less than 1/25th of the effort.
All right. I got a few more questions for you, then we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. What does Russell do for
Okay.
fun?
Basically, I love listening to international geopolitics and trying to figure out where the world is going and our future
You heard me
conflict
say
with
fun. You
China.
heard me say fun, right?
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, as I said, I'm a nerd. I looked at what's going on. The reason why I'm interested in that is if China wants to invade Taiwan because it's the remnants of World War II. That's where the nationalists moved to. If they do invade, you're going to see a recession twice as bad as the Great Recession from 08, 09, because that's where all the chips are made. And we're
Ooh.
trying to get them into this country. Yeah, so just trying. I was in high school when the Soviet Union fell, and now I'm just waiting to see when China cracks up. So
Oh
yeah,
my.
that's what I consider fun. One of the favorite guys I like to listen to on that is Peter Zion, the
I was gonna ask
geopolitical
how
guy.
you relax, but I feel like the answer is gonna be the same.
Go ahead.
How do you relax, Russell?
Generally, I get a really good audio book, and I listen to
Yeah,
that. I'm currently listening to the Perfect Storm, the Andrea Gale that went out. I literally listened to. I have a personal library of over 600 books,
oh
most
my
of them over
goodness.
20 hours. Yeah, you ask me pretty much anything, I can point you to the right audiobook, because
Wow, that's
that's what I
amazing.
do with my kids. We have to find the book. They'll say, "I'm interested in World War II European theaters." Like, oh, Rich Atkinson, here's the book. and I tell them something
You
crazy
are a
about,
library, man. That's amazing. That's astounding, man. I love this,
yeah.
man. So glad to have you on here, man, talking about this. This is an important topic. Last question for today. Then after that, I have you speak to the audience for about 120 seconds, okay?
Okay.
Last question. All of our guests get it. I call it the CMV question, career, mission, vocation. But essentially, it's not just to diminish all the work you've done, because you've done outstanding work. That's obvious here today. But I'm going to temporarily take it off of the board. We're going to UAC. What is Russell most likely doing with his life right now? You haven't done it before. You haven't probably haven't even touched it. Probably just thought about it. You haven't done it yet. What do you think you're most likely doing right now outside of what you already done?
If I could do it over again, I'd probably become a history professor.
I can see that. I can see that. Any chance that can still happen because of all the knowledge you have in you to give out? Any chance that can do that?
When I did my original program, I spent less than 2 weeks with Dr. Collins, and I got funded by the state, by the university for $15K. Then the state, I just don't have the patience to go back to grad school, and where I tell the professors that, you know what, you're wrong on most of the stuff.
I can see you in there.
Okay, I don't have the patience for it.
Oh my goodness! Soon you wouldn't know what hit him. I get you though. I get you. But take the last 2 minutes, Russell. Let everybody know where they can find your work, where they can find you, and any other insights and wisdom you want to share. You got 2 minutes, man. Go for it.
The best thing to do to find me is just go to my website, dyslexiaclasses.com. That's with an S, plural, dyslexiaclasses.com. And you're going to see a little button there. It says download free report. Just click on it, answer a few questions. You get a document that says the 3 reasons your child's having trouble in school due to dyslexia and how to get past it. Then you can set up a half an hour with me where on Zoom, where I discuss things with you and your child. And I'm just going to tell you what happens. They're going to look, do I have to? I don't want to do another one of these, because they've tried everything. They're sick of it. I say, I went through exactly what you're going through. I asked them that question I just gave you. They're like, yeah, how did you know that about me? I asked a few more. They're like, how did you know? I said, well, I went through the same thing. Do you want to do it? Do you want to overcome your reading and writing concerns this way? They say yes. Then I discuss it with the parents, something that's affordable. We work with families on a yearly basis, and we show you how to get this done with the most efficient, affordable, least stressful way possible.
Thank you, sir, for the privilege of your time and for being on here talking about this important issue. Thank you for doing this. For those that are watching and listening, we are live on most every social platform, and we'll be posting within the hour on all the rest of the socials like Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and of course, all listening platforms will be having this episode uploaded within the hour. Thank you again, Russell, for the privilege of your time, man, for sharing about this important topic. Thanks for being here, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure on mine. Russell, Mr. U, we're out. Have a great day. Thanks for listening to One-on-One with Mr. U. Have a good one.